everyone. I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me. I want to give a shout out to those of you that recently bought me cups of coffee and sent in very generous PayPal donations. God bless you. It keeps me driving to put out the truth, what's going on around the world. If you're not subscribed, please like, share, and subscribe. YouTube has recently unsubscribed over 200 people in the last month. Make sure you're not one of them. Many people are watching what's going on there in the legislature about this current shutdown. And I was surprised that Rad Paul voted against it. The House Rules Committee, in the early hours of today, passed a motion to advance the bill to the floor to end the government shutdown, which started now 42 days ago. The vote taken after just 1:30 a.m. My goodness, how many people were there? Yeah, I wonder, yeah, uh, makes me wonder why did they vote and who was there at such an early hour. The package now heads to the full vote scheduled for tonight, Wednesday. The legislation is to fund the federal government through January 30th and three major agencies through September of 2026 is what's in this package. Many were saying that it was the Republicans that were causing the shutdown. But now it comes out it was actually and still is the Democrats. You may have heard that the Senate passed the funding measure on November 10th, thanks to 7 Democrats and 1 independent joining all Republicans but one. So all Republicans voted for it except one, which turned out to be Kentucky Senator Rad Paul. So stick with me. I thought I would dive into why he voted against the bipartisan voting. Paul argued that the provision would effectively shut down the hemp industry across the United States by overriding state regulatory frameworks and restricting consumer access to the products. In a Senate floor speech, he stated the bill is, as now, stands to override the regulatory framework of several states, canceling the collective decision of hemp consumers and destroying the livelihood of hemp farmers. And it could come at a worse time for the American farmers. His spokesperson emphasized that the language was unrelated to the budget and the government reopening goal. He said it unfairly targeted Kentucky's economy, where hemp production has become a significant agricultural sector since 2018. Paul proposed an amendment to strike the hemp-related language from the bill, but it failed to advance amid procedural hurdles. He has a history of opposing large spending bills, often citing fiscal irresponsibility. Evidently, in the bill, there's a waiver for pay-go rules, which allows new spending without offsets, contributing to the national debt exceeding $38 trillion. However, in this case, the hemp issue was the decisive factor, as Paul affirmed his support for reopening the government without delay. If the problematic provision was removed, Kentucky Agricultural Commission, Jonathan Schell, he supported clarifying the hemp definition, but argued changes to protect local farmers, thus aligning with Paul's stance. The shutdown did stem from partisan disputes over spending priorities, including Democratic demands for extending Affordable Care Act subsidies and Republican pushes for cuts to programs like SNAP and Medicare. I also found out the recent bipartisan spending bill, which was advanced on November 10th and supposed to be voted on tonight, would cap total THC at 0.3%. And ban synthetics, overriding state allowances, and potentially making most current hemp-derived THC products illegal federally by 2026. Kentucky is a U.S. leader in hemp production with over 100 licensed growers as of this year. More than 90% focus on consumables, uh, other cannabis products rather than the industrial fiber or seeds. The state's industry generates billions in revenue and supports thousands of jobs, particularly in rural areas hit hard by tobacco decline. So as the law is written right now, which is in the bill, it would ban sales of intoxicating products such as THC gummies, settlers, vape oils, which compound or compromise 90% of the state's hemp output. Non-intoxicating CBDs with traces of THC could also be criminalized. It would also override Kentucky's 2025 state law about age restrictions, testing, labeling for hemp beverages, and the farmers could face criminalization for current crop production during and after any such grace period. The 1 year grace period offers minimal time to retool crops or find new markets. So if this bill does pass, it risks shifting production to black markets or licensed cannabis, where evidently Kentucky lags. Paul's Hemp Act of 2025 proposes loosening limits to 1% THC as an alternative. The Kentucky Senator, Rad Paul, has been a vocal advocate for the hemp industry since at least 2017 when he co-authored an op-ed, Senator Mitchell McConnell's highlighting hemp potential as a cash crop to revitalize Kentucky's agricultural sector amid the declining tobacco farming. They say his support stems from the libertarian principles favoring deregulation and limited federal overreach, as well as economic benefits for his home state, which leads the U.S. in hemp production with over 100 licensed growers and billions in annual revenue. Paul has introduced and reintroduced a hemp economic mobilization plan called the Hemp Act many times back in 2020, 2023, and 2024 to ease testing thresholds, provide regulatory clarity, and expand market for hemp-derived products, earning praises from the Kentucky farmers and groups like Kentucky Hemp Association. In recent months, he is delaying the government funding bill to block provisions banning intoxicating hemp products like Delta 8 THC, arguing that they would destroy livelihoods for honest farmers and override the state laws. So I didn't know about all of that. What are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. We'll find out about the vote probably late tonight. I don't know. Um, yeah, what do you think? I was really surprised about this. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you.